Hey guys, how's it going? It's just me, Bhakti Rupa. This is a special episode of Jiv Jago Podcast. We managed to get Devaki, Dasi on the show to talk about false ego, ahankara. Ahankara, our false ego can be like one of the biggest obstacles to our practicing Krishna consciousness properly. So it was really nice to speak to her about it. I remember I went to a seminar this time last year in Mayapur, and it was really revolutionary. So if you ever get an opportunity to go to one of her seminars, make sure you do. She was just in Cardiff now for the past week, and it was quite nice hearing her speak on different topics and so on and so on. But if you want to learn a little bit more about who she is, I can link there's this episode of How I Came to Krishna Consciousness that I watched. That's really interesting. But yeah, she's done some amazing things, travelled around the world preaching for the past 25 years as kind of a renunciate, a female renunciate, which is quite, I guess, rare. Usually the travelling preachers would be sannyasis, but yeah, like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, she kind of took up that order of life, and yeah, she's really expert in teaching practical application of Krishna consciousness, which is really what gets my juices flowing, you know what I mean? It's inspiring to me because philosophy is one thing, but then actually applying it is another thing. And I found her books to be like a gem mine of applicable philosophy. And also I went to a seminar with her last year in Mayapur, and in the year since, I've practiced some of the stuff, some of the little techniques and tools that she presents and we talk about in this podcast, and it literally allowed me to empowered me to make changes in aspects of my life where before I couldn't make the change. But yeah, I definitely owe a lot to the techniques that she's teaching. So please, hopefully you enjoy the podcast. Leave a like and a comment and a subscribe, and tell your friends, and hopefully we can get some more guests on in the future. Hare Krishna.
All right, so you start, right?
Yeah, I can start, or if you want to start.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you want to have it. You're the MC, you know.
I thought we could talk about the topic of false ego.
Okay.
Because this time last year, we came to Mayapur, and we attended the seminar on false ego. It was like is it a 5-day seminar? It was quite long.
Yeah, 4
days.
4 days, yes.
Yeah, I remember it was amazing. I was like outside the temple, like in the bit where they all wait, and you came up to me and gave me a little flyer.
Yes.
And I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't even know who you were. I was just like,
Yes.
and I was a bit suspicious actually. But then I kind of got a taste of what the non-devotees must experience when Sankirtan devotees hit them, because I was like bewildered, but like, okay, yeah, I might come to you Sankirtaned me. But yeah, it came out at the exact right time, and it's amazing. I wonder, how did you find out so much about false ego? Like,
Well, I can maybe share what initially inspired me to give that topic more attention.
yeah.
Because for many years I've been conducting holy name retreats all around the world. And just one day it really hit me that we can make so much effort to get on deeper levels of chanting. But if not parallel, we also work on dissolving our false ego, then basically our chanting can be compared to an elephant taking bath. So when the elephant comes out, first thing he takes the dirt with his trunk and throws it back on his back. And that's actually exactly what happens to us, that we make so much effort to get on deeper levels of chanting, but then we slide back into our false ego patterns of behaviors, and we are trapped there, and we are stuck there. And as we know, Mahaprabhu says, Tinada Pisanichana, so we have to be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than the tree. Which means false ego is subdued and dissolved. And only then we can actually really receive that benefit which the holy name gives. But yeah, if we don't work on this parallel, we are not getting much anywhere with our chanting. So that was quite an eye-opener, that I thought, yes, this topic deserves a bit more exploring. And then also simply, not wanting to criticize or anything, but having been around for almost 40 years now in ISKCON, you observe these things, that even after so many years of practice, people are still pretty attached to title, power, position, and that you're kind of wondering, well, Shastra is promising detachment. So what's happening? Are we maybe missing something here? Because I've witnessed situations where it was really difficult to get somebody to give up his position, and this is not such an uncommon thing. But if we were all in a humble mood of service, then to change a position or to exchange a person there in a position should not be such a big deal, because then people would say, yeah, okay, fine, all I want to do is serve. And I thought I can serve as whatever position. But if you have a different suggestion, okay, no problem, all I want to do is serve. So, but yeah, this is unfortunately how it usually doesn't go. And so all these observations, made me think that, the false ego is just so subtle that easily we can completely miss it and we don't identify it, and we can actually do the opposite of what we should really be doing. Instead of subduing, dissolving it, we can feed it and boost it and massage each other's false egos. And it's all going on, and Krishna consciousness offers so much opportunity for this.
Yeah, it's like almost like the false ego sneaks into the Krishna conscious activities and expands within that framework. It's a new avenue for the false ego.
Yeah, exactly. And the best thing can be poisoned through the false ego, Yes, even sublime, saintly relationships with guru or with one's deity. So my guru, my guru is the best, and therefore I'm the next best. So we use guru, the false ego uses that relationship with guru to glorify ourselves and bring attention to ourselves. Same thing with our deities, my deity is so special, and Mahaprasadam for my deity, and because my deity is so special, that's why I'm special, because it's my deity. So all these things are going on. And if we are not, perceptive enough to understand what's happening, we may get confused. We may think, well, of course our guru is special to us, our deity is special to us, but somehow it doesn't feel quite right, So it's the false ego poisoning the most sublime aspects of Krishna consciousness, get poisoned, or even fanaticism also comes about like that. Book distribution, Harinam, no doubt they're very valuable aspects of our preaching mission. But the false ego can grab them, and book distribution is the best, and I'm the only one who actually understands how Prabhupada wanted book distribution to happen, and because I'm the only one, that's why I'm so special, and that's how we get the fanaticism. Harinam book distribution is a classic thing, that we have in many parts of the world, these Harinam fanatics, that if you're not on the street for 8 hours a day of Harinam, you're not even considered a devotee, and so it's a false ego poisoning the whole thing,
It makes a fool out of us, that's what Krishna, ahankara pamudatma, isn't it?
Yes. But often we don't identify, we don't identify, and some people may not even dare to say anything because they think, yeah, well, Harinam book distribution are so special. That's what Prabhupada wanted, you know, and we don't realize what poisons the whole thing, you know.
It's interesting. Like, I guess how can we? I guess it takes some mercy for our own false ego to be revealed to us. It could be quite uncomfortable, isn't it? Like, if you get kind of exposed, oh wait, I'm doing this for the wrong intention.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder, like, because personally, I don't want to act out a false ego, but I know I do. How do I identify the areas where I am, you know, acting out a false ego?
Well, it usually comes out in cooperation with others, right? That's why it's so important to really serve in cooperation with others under the guidance of senior devotees and. So, you know, if we are strongly motivated by false ego, sooner or later some clashes will happen and it will come to the surface. But even there, unless we have a mentor who helps us to recognize, you know, we have all these defense mechanisms, defending and protecting the false ego. So, and one of the most common ones is that we blame others, we point the finger at others. So in other words, we say it's all, I'm okay, everything is fine with me, it's all the other people, you know. Yeah, so it's, and we can say the more prominent the false ego is, the less we can see it. I remember once I had the situation where one Mataji was really very strongly influenced by her prominent false ego. And as a result, she always got herself in conflicts. So, and at some stage she somewhat turned to me and, you know, shared her frustration and pain. And I was thinking, okay, let me try and help her to understand what's actually happening. So I was very careful because I know the false ego doesn't like to be poked. So I was saying, well, you know, I guess our false ego often gets into our ways. And she was saying, what? False ego? Come on, I don't have that.
Yeah.
And I was completely speechless. I thought, how is it possible that a person who is so tortured by their false ego thinks she doesn't have a false ego? But that's exactly how it is. So the more prominent the false ego is, the less we can see it. And as we become more and more purified, then we become perceptive to the subtleties and we realize, oh my God, almost every day the false ego somehow gets into my way and so on. And I guess our saving grace is really Vaishnava etiquette and culture, because that's designed to become Trinada Pisanichana. So if we were spontaneously like that, no need for Vaishnava etiquette and culture, then we would spontaneously behave properly. But because we are not, therefore we have all these words of Vaishnava etiquette and culture. For example, that Vaishnava is not meant to defend him or herself. We are meant to defend others, but we don't defend ourselves. And if everybody would follow that etiquette, then there would be no need to defend ourselves, because then surely somebody would step up and say something if we are somehow unfairly treated. But usually we do the opposite. We are very good at defending ourselves, but when somebody else is wrongly treated, we look away, we don't want to get involved, or this may damage my relationships if I say something here, and you know, so yeah, that's the problem, you know.
Interesting. Something you said there coming up, because you're kind of interfacing with other people's false egos, you know, like, you have to be careful of their false ego.
Yes.
Like, I guess the more you become aware of it, how much should you pander to another person's false ego? Or should, because, do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
How good is it for them if I'm just, okay, I'm not going to say something in case it flares you, but if maybe you need to be flared. Do you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. Well, it depends on our relationship with them and our position. Like if we are junior, it's not our business to, poke people's false egos or something. And even if we are senior, if a person doesn't have faith in us, then we cannot really do much. But if we have a trusting relationship, if we maybe serve as their mentor, then it is almost our duty, and that's how we show that we are their most well-wishing friend, that we do point out, that there is some false ego, overreaction or whatever, Yeah, so again, that's why it is so important to have at least one person in our life where we have, that trust, that we know this person has no other interest except my spiritual journey. And whatever that person says or does is for my very best, because even getting corrected, most people don't like it. The false ego immediately protests, and we become huffy and we don't accept and. But that's actually what it means to take shelter. That we want to be corrected by that person. Yes, that's what it means to take shelter. And then correction actually becomes a loving exchange. That we allow this person to touch very sensitive points in our heart, which we would not allow anybody else, but that person we allow. And even though still the false ego may rebel a little bit, but still it is like a loving exchange, because from that person we gladly accept it. And we have to have such a person in our life, because very often as we become senior, there may be nobody around who can tell us anything. And that's a risky situation, very risky.
You need to be checked, I guess.
Yes, we should want to be corrected, no matter how senior we are, because there's always some step to move forward to. Krishna consciousness is ever increasing, unlimited. There is no stage where we can say, so now I've got it all down or something. No. And actually one initiating guru was once sharing this with me privately. He was saying, the biggest challenge in being guru is that you can exactly see what you should tell your disciples, but because he's not ready to accept, you cannot give the instruction. Even gurus face that situation,
How do we become like able recipients of that style of mercy? Because I've received it myself, like getting crushed, and it can feel like the false ego is getting crushed. Like humility is like a crush, like it's like, oh, that really hurts me deep down somewhere. How can you get a taste for that? For that crush,
Well, again, it's all about relationship, As we really, that's what it means to actually become a true disciple. That we want to be disciplined, we want to be corrected, and so on, so that's what it actually means. So we are often so concerned about, who is true guru, but how much are we concerned about, who is a true disciple, or how can I become a true disciple? I've got a whole seminar on that too, actually, but I haven't given it for quite a while. So, and one of the points is that we should be eager to be disciplined. Otherwise, it's discipleship in name only. It's external formality. But deep in our heart, we do what we want and we make up our own decisions. And, and we don't want guru or mentors to interfere in our lives. So then we are far away from taking shelter.
Yeah, it's like, it always seems to be like there's this, you have to do the work yourself. You have to want to change yourself.
Yes.
In spiritual life, there's a lot of, it's about practically changing yourself rather than pointing to everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
So like, that's what I really loved about your seminar and your books as well. they're about actively trying to improve as devotees, as people,
Yes.
So
Yes, otherwise Krishna consciousness can be very external, on the surface, just going mechanically through some motions, but internally we keep it all as it is.
those
And
guards.
that's where we want to stay, and don't push me, and so I mean, Krishna consciousness is all about transformation. We are not meant to keep everything as it is.
Maybe you could talk about the book. We could
The
try and
book?
plug the book.
The false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. I mean, this book, I have had a lot of good feedback on it, and it has helped me also a lot to detect how my false ego gets into my way by putting it together, so I give some, systematic journey on this topic where we become more aware how the false ego gets into our ways. And even like yesterday evening, we discussed forgiveness when we get offended. Again, it's the false ego crying for justice and fairness and not being able to tolerate. And so people often keep grudges, for 20 years, and they remember what the person said or did, and they can't forget and forgive and let go and move forward. So, and ultimately we damage ourselves, So, yes, I'm bringing attention to all these different topics, and then also focus on a few important words of Vaishnava etiquette. This not defending and not protecting the false ego, and also not seeking opportunities to get the credit, to show off, to be wanting to be glorified. It's a whole thing. Like in many temples, we do have that tradition that we read out the names of people who did the cooking and this and that. I mean, 40 years ago, we didn't do this. 40 years ago, the only thing when we read out the names was for the Sankirtan scores. But even there also, I have spoken to some of these old Sankirtan heroes. Many of them are not around anymore. And those who are still around, they often also admit that it was a whole big false ego thing. And, this whole competitiveness and wanting to be the number one and all this. So, all right, initially, it's not that the false ego is all bad. And initially, at least it gets us going. It gets us out of tamaguna, so we don't want to give up the false ego too quickly, otherwise we are drowning in laziness and tamaguna. But then gradually we have to understand, we have to get away from this false ego motivation. And I personally am not such a friend of this institutionalized appreciation of such and such did the cooking, ki joy, the drums are going, and ki joy, ki joy, ki joy. So, and then some person might say, I was also in the kitchen, I actually cooked that and that prep and my name was not mentioned. What is this, I mean, Vaishnav mood is we feel uncomfortable when our name is mentioned. Yes, we feel awkward, uncomfortable. We want to block our ears and run away and hide. That is the Vaishnav mood where we want to bring our devotees to. But if we just give them every week the false ego boost just to make sure hopefully next weekend they cook again the Sunday feast or something, I'm not sure if that is really so helpful. And bringing our devotees to higher levels of practice, so, and we have all the nice stories in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhavendra Puri, when he's hiding, trying to escape his fame, that the deity saved a pot of kheer for him there and so on. So that is actually the mood, that we don't want to be glorified and we feel uncomfortable. So there we can already reflect and see, how do I feel when my name is chanted there, in my glories? Do I feel, finally somebody understands how great I am? and do I lap it all up and enjoy the glorification, or do I feel uncomfortable, So to all these things I'm bringing attention in this book, and then also some steps how to recognize and how to try and uproot it.
Yeah, that from the seminar last year, you gave that loop that you recognize a problem. I can't remember the exact order of it, but I definitely practiced it.
Yes.
You spoke about it last night, maybe.
Yes, these 5 steps, which are very simple and very powerful for any kind of transformational internal work when we want to transform some unwanted patterns of behaviors, whether this is envy or false ego or whatever it may be. So first step is always to hear about the topic.
Yeah.
That's why I like to discuss them, because hearing about them makes us conscious of these things.
So the book is good for that.
Yes. And the book, gives much more than the first step, But often I just give an initial introductory presentation just to make people mindful how the false ego or envy affects us. So we realize, my God, yes, it's there and I have to do something about it. So first step is hearing, which always awakens us from this unconscious state. And then second step is desiring, that we really understand, I have to do something about it. If I ever want to get out of this material world, I have to work on this. And then the third step is to be introspective and honest, to always reflect and introspect. Why do I say this? Why did I do this? What's my motive? And why do I feel bad after this exchange? And so that it has to become like our second nature, that we always reflect and introspect, and we are honest to ourselves. And at that step, we may need the help of a mentor, because, the more conditioned we are, the less we can even reflect and see ourselves and assess ourselves. So we need that help from a well-wishing friend. And and then the fourth step is that we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing, that we realize, here we go again. I had to make that nasty comment, or again I was defending myself and answering back and wanting to have the last word and all these things, so that we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing. And that is already progress, because so many times before we were doing the wrong thing and we thought it was the right thing. We didn't even realize. Yeah. But now at least we realize. So, and then after catching ourselves doing the wrong thing, what do? Often people say, we just do the right thing, but it's not that easy. So the only way to uproot these things is actually hopelessly crying out to Krishna, Lord Nrsimhadev, with his sharp nails, very expert heart surgeon. So because this envy, false ego, they are like demons in our heart. As we know, Kali Yuga, demon devotee out one heart. So it's like a little Hiranyakashipu there in the heart, and we, out of our own strength, we can't free ourselves. We have to invite Lord Nrsimhadev. But our problem is that usually we are hanging on to this, and we are hoping that false ego will give us some juicy fruits there, the gratification of being superior and better and showing off and all that. So, and that's why we usually hang on to it, so we have to be convinced that we have to get this uprooted, and also the realization that our relationships will be so much more harmonious. And we will be more peaceful if we are less influenced by false ego. So we have to seriously call out to Krishna. So and if we do these last 3 steps there of introspection and reflection, and then catching ourselves doing the wrong thing, crying out to Krishna. So if we do this internal work, then we are actually making advancement, and then sooner or later we will come across some daily situations where we will react differently, where we let go and we don't, respond and get provoked and so on. So and then we see gradually it works.
And that's the best feeling. Like this, because I applied this system that you talked about a lot. Like I was really, okay, why am I saying the things that I say? Like what? Like I really feel bitter when I said that to that person. Why am I doing? Krishna, help me! Like and like this process, and then eventually it took me a good year of doing that. But then it's like, okay, they said something to me and I didn't react up. I just and you become more tolerant. You become more aware of how. The
very
false ego, it works.
Yeah.
It works. It's practical,
Yeah, it's very simple, but yet it requires really some internal work. And married life offers so much opportunity for this. Oh my God! Yes. Even also with dealing with parents, or then one's children are there. Often the children they can really provoke our false ego. Yes. So there's so much opportunity for this. That's why family life is so purifying, because there's this constant opportunity there to really do some internal work, But often people don't even realize, and they may even refuse to do this internal work, and this is one reason why we have such a high divorce rate, because people rather separate and get divorced than doing some internal work. That's really what it boils down to.
It's interesting because there's something blocking us from doing that work, but we know that if you do the internal work, you will feel happier and you will interact more smoothly, and you will be, is the false ego what's blocking it?
I mean, I dare say often people don't know, they don't realize, unless they really, confront themselves with these topics and read a book about it or attend a seminar or something, they don't even realize. Yes. I've had this so many times that people after the seminar, they say to me, oh, thank you for giving the seminar. Now I actually realize I have a false ego. And people say, I always thought this is just some theoretical, technical thing which doesn't really have any relevance for me, Yeah, people don't realize, because it's so subtle, even after 15, 20 years of practice. That's why I really like to talk about this and bring attention to it, because as long as we are trapped in these false ego patterns of behaviors, we don't go anywhere. And we don't get the benefit from the chanting either.
It's like you're just acting automatically.
Yes.
Like you're just you keep hitting the same problem.
Yeah. Or it's like the hamster wheel, we're running there like the hamster in the wheel. But the hamster is not going anywhere, he's just running on the spot. So that's what we do, just trapped in these false ego patterns of behaviors. And we think we're all busy and we're doing so many things. Well, we are not going anywhere.
It's amazing. So thanks for giving the tools, because I always tell people these steps and try, because this practical knowledge can transform people. It can really.
Yes.
I can speak for myself. It actually works. To actually. You can change, and that's very empowering.
Yes.
You can become more conscious, and you can change.
Yes.
If you want to. The desire is the first step. I want to change.
Yeah.
For me in Japa, that's been a big meditation. I want to change.
Yes.
Help me to change. Yes. I want to change. Because behaving the way that we've always behaved, it doesn't work. That's why we're here.
And often people think this is my nature.
Yeah.
But no, my nature as spirit soul is something completely different. It's not my nature, it's my conditioning, my luggage I'm carrying. And we want to dissolve that luggage. We can't go back to Godhead with that conditioning. So what we think is my nature is not my nature at all. And I mean, in this book there is also a whole chapter on chanting the holy name. You know, how we are actually meant to chant. So it also helps to dissolve the false ego. And how not to chant in kirtan. So not to boost and feed the false ego and use kirtan to show off. You know, these things all are going on, and it poisons the whole kirtan experience. You know, this showing off is poisoning everything, you know. So yeah, it's also, you know, useful for devotees.
You have a website where we can buy the books, or email, or?
Yeah, best is if people send me an email, and then depending on where they are, I tell them where they can get the book.
Okay.
You know, but you can get it, for example, in Vrindavan and Mayapur.
Yeah.
You know, then some temple shops have it. BLS and Radhadesh sometimes have them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're out of stock.
Okay.
You know, or if people want a bigger amount of books, you know, because I've got 4 other books also, you know, then I can also arrange to send them out or something.
Okay.
You know, but yeah.
So, I'd recommend the books though.
My email is devaki@pamho.net. You
Put it on the screen and
you can put it on the screen, yes.
link in the description.
Yes.
But yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for talking about false ego.
Okay,
It's
my
really nice
pleasure.
to have you here.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for inviting me. Hare Krishna.
Very well.